This is, of course, I Do What I Want. I am your host, Hollis, and this is a podcast all about writing and the books that I write and my characters and troubles. Yeah, writing podcast, book podcast, that sort of thing. As always, feel free to message me on YouTube or Instagram at Hollis Jo McCullum. All of that jazz. And before we get started today, I'm excited about this episode today because I am doing a character study on one of my favorite characters in my books to write. I love writing this character, but before I do that, just quick reminder that I do have my writing workshop that I'm going to be doing, and that will be on character development. How fun. And I'm going to go through my whole process with you about how I create characters, and when I create my characters, I do so in such a way that the characters actually kind of write the story for me because I have them so well developed when I start that they kind of just make their own decisions as I go. And it really helps my writing process, particularly as somebody who is more of a pantser, writing by the seat of my pants, so to speak, as opposed to a plotter, someone who meticulously plots out every point of their story. Total pantser right here. So check that out. The link is in the description, and it's on Eventbrite. It's only $25 a person. It will be a 2-hour workshop on Zoom. So if you are not, in my time zone or, you don't have to drive anywhere. Like, pajamas and blankets are strongly encouraged. Just be awake. And that would be, and have your internet connection, as it will be via Zoom. And I'm also doing it in collaboration with the Carnegie Writers group, which I am a member of as well. And I'm really excited about that. So they are also going to be, I'm going to have, hopefully Kemi, who is the person who created the Carnegie Writers Group. She's a wonderful person, really, really good friend. Enjoy her a lot, actually. And, or perhaps Frank, who is the head of our chapter, here in Georgia, which is where I live. And he's awesome too. Yeah, honestly, both, either, whatever. But Carnegie Writers will say a few words, and then we'll get into it. But, so there's that. And of course, The Queen Witch, the sequel to Save a World, is coming out this spring. Aiming for April. Looks like it's going to happen. Finally getting the edits done. I've got my blurb written. I've got the cover designed. Page layout is looking pretty good. I'm tightening that up. Happy with it. It's pretty. Very, very excited about The Queen Witch. I really enjoyed writing it. I think that the stakes are very high. And of course, your favorite characters who survived the first book will be back. And I'm going to add some new ones in there and make it splashy. And then the re-release of To Save a World will actually be happening just a few weeks after The Queen Witch is released. So probably in May of this year, so spring for both of them. And I'm re-releasing To Save a World, the first book, for a couple of reasons. One of which is I wanted to update the cover to make the cover of The Queen Witch and To Save a World look like a set, and then everything in what I'm calling the Raashan series, because Raashan is the name of the world that particular fantasy series is based in. Everything, I design all the covers, so they'll all, like, every book in that series will look like it belongs with the other, and I'm numbering them on the spine because I miss that, and I don't know why that went out of fashion, but darn it, I'm doing it. So that's happening. And also there is certain things that when I initially published, it was the first book I ever published, there was a lot that I wanted to do. I just didn't know any better, and I didn't know the best ways to do certain things. So, and frankly, the quote unquote editor that was supposed to edit that original manuscript, frankly, did a pretty crap job of it. I doubt they even read my manuscript. So, yeah, I am going through that again and fixing the typos that are in there and making it beautiful. So To Save a World will be re-edited. It's going to be a much more visual, new cover. Page layout's going to be gorgeous. Really excited. So those are my announcements. Let's get into the episode today, which is a character study on the wizard Tim. I love Tim. I love him. I know that most people who read my books, they like him. You know, people don't dislike Tim in general, but they're not like that's my favorite character. I love that wizard, on and on. But I gotta tell you, I love him. He might be my favorite character that I write in the Raashan series. He's so much fun to write, and frankly, I need him because Tim, in a similar way, so Tim is that character that drives the plot. In many, many, many book series, the two glaring examples that come to my brain are in the Harry Potter series, you have Dumbledore, and in the Lord of the Rings series, you have Gandalf. You have these sage-like, usually wizards, quite frankly, in the fantasy series. Usually older, sage-like characters who just know what's going on. They're usually the ones who spur the other characters into action. So they're not usually the ones who go through the whole adventure with them. Like, well, in the case of Gandalf, of course, Gandalf does go with the Fellowship and everything else, and he is very involved throughout. But he is still the one who is like, hey, you have to take the ring to Mordor. Like, there's this whole, here's the solution. Like, he's like, this is what needs to happen. And of course, Dumbledore does that in the Harry Potter books. And that's what Tim does in my Raashan series. Tim is that wizard, sage-like. He's got the long white beard. He's very, very old, and he's very, very magical. And he is the one who tells the characters about the prophecy as to why and how they have to save the world. Now, I'm not going to get too much into that. Again, I don't want to be a spoiler brat, and I'm not going to do that. But he's important, gosh darn it. And I love to write him because he's kind of kooky. You know, he's a very he's old. So just to let you know who he is. So Tim, you know, he meets the other, we've talked about the, and I'm doing these character studies in the order that you meet them in the books, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that, if you've read my books. So in the first book, To Save a World, I'm doing the character studies in the order in which you met the characters. So we had Ethne, Darian, Aram, Jocelyn, now Tim. And then I have one more character study I'm going to do for the Raashan series before publishing The Queen Witch, and that will be Jeeve. But he'll be later. And what was I saying? Sometimes I lose track of my thoughts. This is why we have notes. Anyway, Tim, he meets the characters and he gives them that main driving plot point that says, this is your quest. And he's very direct. He's also very flippant at the same time. He kind of has a kooky mentality. A friend of mine, a fellow author who read To Save a World, once told me that he just envisioned Tim as a kooky cartoon wizard. And I was like, yeah, actually, his personality is like that. That is really his personality. He likes to wear he's all about comfort. Tim loves to wear the voluminous purple velvet robes. And in my head, purple is his favorite color. He's always wearing it. I don't say it, but he's always wearing purple. He wears, it's not a tall pointy hat, but he wears, and I'm doing all the purple in my lights. Again, if you're watching the video, you can see that it's all about the purple. I'm actually wearing a purple sweatshirt. Oh, snap. Anyway, just a little insight into his favorite color is purple. He wears purple velvet pretty much everything. His hat is not tall and pointy. It's floppy with like a little tassel on the end. He loves plush, he loves his slippers, he loves to be warm. He's kind of skinny, probably average height. He was born human, but because he became so powerful, the magic actually infused with his being, extending his life. So Tim, in To Save a World, is 972 years old. He's nearly 1,000. And he was born human. And that is kind of fun. Now, not so much for him. Now, Tim, in To Save a World, you really don't find out that much about his background. In The Queen Witch, and I'm not going to spoil any of this for you, but in The Queen Witch, you actually do learn a lot. Tim, in The Queen Witch, talks about his personal life, especially his personal life when he was a young man, just growing up and learning magic before, it got all infused, before he got to this great level of power where the magic actually like fused with his being and started extending his own life. So you learn just like who this guy really is or was, and you learn a little bit about his emotional journey over that 900 plus years of life that, at the time of his birth, he never bargained on having. At best, well, humans think they're going to have 100 years, right? Probably more like 80. Tim looks like a man of about 80 years old. He may, or maybe even in his 70s, who knows? He's a little skinny, he's got the long white beard, and he's got very clear blue eyes, and I think he's got, I envisage him with like the long nose and kind of like, wrinkly skin and things like that, but he is extremely youthful. So he looks like this old man, but because he is basically just he is a magical being at this point. Again, born human, still looks totally human. But because he attained such a high level of power as a wizard, and just for those of you who have not read the books, and again, this is not like you find out immediately, like Tim is the most powerful wizard in the world of Raashan, period. Like, anyone who studies magic knows that dude is the most powerful wizard. And that's just it. And most wizards never get to a point where the magic infuses with them and they live. And then we do talk about in the book, in To Save a World, there is an artifact that the characters seek out that is called the Stone of Elysius. And Elysius is actually Tim's former teacher. So Elysius was the previous most powerful wizard in all the world, before he passed away. And when he passed away, he actually, kind of killed himself, because once you have become so powerful that the magic itself is keeping you alive, you really can't die unless you are violently killed, or you decide that you're just gonna go yourself. You're just gonna take yourself out, right? So, we don't really, like, Elysius, basically, the Stone of Elysius, as the legend goes in the book, very quickly, basically, he saw a prophecy that the world of Raashan was going to be in trouble, which, of course, you learn you learn from reading the back blurb of To Save a World that it is a post-apocalypse. It's the world is an apocalypse. It's in chaos, and it's slowly dying. And before this apocalypse even happened, Elysius foresaw it. And he decided that he was like, okay, well, people are going to need my powers, but I don't know if I'm still going to be around. So, because it was hundreds of years before it happened. And he went and he took this, giant lump of quartz. I imagine it to be at least the size of a human head, maybe a little bigger. And he imbued this big rock with all of his magic. And when he did that, because he transferred all of his magic into it, he died. because the magic was the only thing that was keeping him alive. He was hundreds and hundreds, possibly thousands. I don't know. I actually am planning on doing backstories on some of the other characters that we don't talk about as, that aren't the quote unquote main characters, like a collection of short stories. Anyway, getting off topic. And so Tim was this guy's student. By the time Elysius has offed and, offed himself sounds terrible, has imbued all of his powers into the magic rock and passed away. Tim is, he's already a very powerful wizard in his own right, someone who has already started to have the magic fuse with his being, and so he simply becomes the world's most powerful wizard, and he is, for the time of Raashan, the both books written in the series, Tim is the most powerful guy in the world, and he's just this like kooky old man who lives in his mansion in the city of Duomo. The city of Duomo is like one of the biggest cities in the world of Raashan, and the characters are there a lot, and Tim has this huge mansion because he's lived for almost 1,000 years. He's got a lot of money, and he uses it to train the apprentices. Basically, his home is also a school. He takes on apprentices. They stay, and Tim has his own private quarters and study, but his home itself is a wizarding school. And he, teaches the next generation, or several generations as it goes. And that's, I feel like I'm checking my notes because I'm like, all right, let's chill. Most powerful wizard. We've talked about a physical appearance. And that guy drives the plot. I like him a lot. He's very direct. He speaks his mind, and he does so because he's a socially awkward person. Even though he's lived for as long as he has, and he's taught countless people, Tim has, and you learn in The Queen Witch that, he confides, he's like, I was never very good with people. He does say that, and again, that's not a spoiler. That's not a plot point spoiler. That's just, in The Queen Witch, when he's talking about his own story and talk about, he does concede. He's like, I've never been good at social graces. Like that's not me. It's not my personality. I'm not good at it. That's why I just say what I need to say. And it offends people a lot of the time, or it comes out sounding flippant because I just don't know how to be tactful. And he sucks at it. And he's aware of it, but he's also old, and he's kind of beyond caring about that. And that's one of those things, once you get to a certain age, you just don't care what people think anymore. And, Tim is 972 years old. He does not care. Hell, I'm 40 and I don't care. I don't think I've cared ever. I'm very, I was born this way. I was born with the confidence of an 89-year-old man, to quote the comedian Catherine Ryan. I love that she used that. And, I was. Me too, Catherine. Me too. Born with the confidence of an 89-year-old man. And that's, that's Tim. He just says what he needs to say. He lets it fall as it falls, no matter how just earth-shattering the news might be, or inconvenient. And he just says, it is what it is. But we find out that he's always been that way. Even before he became old, he was always just like, I don't know how to say it, so bleh, here you go. And that's his personality. And that's something I kind of gave him in the book. In the game, the D&D game that my best friend and I played, that he was obviously in the game as well, because he was a plot driver in the game. He had to be. But one of the reasons I wrote him that way as socially awkward in the book, because in the game, we really didn't. He was just an NPC, which, for those of you who don't roleplay, NPC stands for non-playing character. So he just popped in, and he said what he needed to say, and then he left. Is we didn't need him to help us develop the story. We knew our characters were going to act upon it, so we just, like Tim would. He just said what he needed to say, and that was it. And so when I was writing the book, I sort of said, well, what if he's still like that? But the reason he's like that isn't because he's unimportant, because he's so important, but because he's awkward. And even though he's almost 1,000, he's never learned how to, some people just never figure it out socially. And Tim's one of those guys, and he is well beyond caring if he ever figures it out at this point. And frankly, people come to him because he is the most powerful wizard in the world. So people need him, and his awkwardness gets excused because they need his help. They need him to teach them. They need, and he's a really nice guy, but they like the fact that he's awkward and just blurts things out and doesn't use tact when speaking is just overlooked because he's famous, essentially, which is fun. And that is something that he did not have in the game. Again, in the game, Tim really didn't have much personality at all. He was solely a plot driver in the game, and we didn't worry too much about him as a character. In the book, I translated that into the social awkwardness, which is also one of the reasons I love writing Tim, because it's funny for me as the writer. It's funny. He just it's huge news. It's or very upsetting news or something, and he just says it. And then the best part is the other characters then get to react to it, which makes for more drama when you're writing, or a laugh or something. But then also in the book, I have a few moments where Tim does come and socialize with the characters, just because he everyone craves socializing, right? No matter how introverted you are or anything, humans are naturally gregarious creatures, and we all need companionship in one way or another. And so he does seek them out, just, the other characters, just to socialize. And he's even a little awkward at that. But it's kind of sweet. And that's something else I enjoy writing, because he just sort of shows up. And again, he doesn't care. He's a confident old man, just sits, says, anyway, I'm here now, let us talk. And he would even say that, I'm here now, let's talk. Ask me questions, or I'm going to ask you questions, that sort of thing. He just says it, and it's a little weird, but again, he's famous. He's really, really strong and powerful, even though he looks like a frail old man. And he's got a lot of youthful exuberance, because even though he's super old, the magic has also kept him extraordinarily healthy. He has no aches or pains. Can you imagine? Oh my God. I wish. I mean, I, at my age, have tons of aches and pains, and I can't imagine being almost 1,000 years old and just having your body feel like it did when you were 11 years old, where you just run around and have a wonderful time and not worry about your bum knee or whatever. But Tim, that's what his body feels like. He really yeah, it's kind of a dream, where not the long life part. Personally, I don't think that kind of long life is a dream at all. I think it's very sad, especially if your loved ones are not aging or living the same amount of time that you are. That's I find that very difficult. When I am a normal human who does not have that problem, but when I'm writing my characters and I'm thinking on it, yeah, it's sad. Can you imagine Tim's situation? He's born human. So again, his life expectancy when he was born almost 1,000 years ago was maybe I'll make it to 80. 100 if I'm really healthy and lucky, right? And he ended up living over, 900 years beyond the expected lifespan, right? But think about it. Again, he was born human. Tim's hometown doesn't even exist anymore. His forget his parents, forget anyone that was family. Dust. A long time ago. And then he knows, because he has no idea how long he's going to keep living, but he knows he's going to live for a long time. And he goes, anyone I get close to, even if they're a long-lived race, I'm still going to have to watch them die. And so that's another reason for Tim's social awkwardness, is he has over the years, at first when he didn't know how long his life would be extended, of course he kept getting involved, but then he started closing himself off, and that's why he has this big mansion, and he has the students that he teaches, but he definitely keeps a firm student-teacher relationship with them, because again, you get too close, and even if they keep in touch with you for the rest of their natural lives, you're still going to have to watch someone you care about deeply pass away. And that's really hard to take for somebody who, at the time of their birth, did not expect to live for even 100 years because they were born human. So he's lonely. And he has this, I'm just going to blurt things out mentality, because he doesn't interact a lot with people anymore. Besides teaching, which again, he can just say, you just be direct when you're teaching too. You just, yes, no, this is right, this is wrong, that sort of thing. That all works when you're teaching. But with social situations, he has removed himself in large part from it for hundreds of years because it's too painful. It's too painful. And that's something that a lot of people, I talk about, or Tim talks about it in The Queen Witch. He doesn't talk about it in To Save a World, but for any reader who is reading between the lines, as we say, you can tell, this character, you say, oh gosh, well because he does say he was born human in the first book, and you find out that he is 972, and if you stop and think about that, what is the natural conclusion about his social relationships and family? Everybody's dead. And he had to watch him go. Maybe not like everyone individually, but, knowing that they passed and knowing he's going to keep on living. That is horrible. That's horrible. Honestly, immortality is such a curse in my personal assessment. Again, unless you've got a bunch of other immortals to hang out with. What a lonely, lonely existence. And Tim, being the only wizard in all of Raashan that has that kind of that to their knowledge, to his knowledge, and frankly, he's the only one because I'm the writer. I made up the world. Like, I haven't written anyone else in at this point. Maybe in later books I will. We'll see. But yeah, he has never encountered anyone else who's immortal, in a sense. And there are certainly no other immortal races. The elves live for about 700 to 800 years. They're the longest lived race, which, you know, that all the characters, you know, Darien or Ethne, Darien, Aram, Yoslin, they're all elves. Well, Yoslin's a demon as well, but that, you know, comparable age range there. So that's a long time, but it's still not forever. And that's just something to consider when you're reading Tim. So yeah, he's lonely. He's lonely, and he's afraid of getting close and afraid of getting hurt, because he has been hurt so many times before. Not because people willfully say, I hate you, when they leave, which I'm sure that's happened to him a couple of times, but because he absolutely knows no matter what, everyone's going to leave him, regardless of their wants or intentions or how much they care about him, and he cares about them. He knows from experience anyone he gets close to and cares about is going to die. So he puts up a wall. He pushes people away, keeps very professional relationships, and when he has to say something hard, he just says it. And these are reasons why I always like to do the reasons why we maybe don't like this person so much, right? Well, maybe we don't like Tim so much because he just, here it is. It's an abrasive trait to have. It's abrasive. Let's just be honest about that. But of course you understand why. And frankly, Tim's also nosy. He is nosy. So reasons that we maybe don't like Tim very much, and again, even though his life has been prolonged by magic, he's still human. So don't forget that. He's a human being. He's a wizard, very magical, but he's a human being. That hasn't changed. He's flawed. So yeah, he blurts things out without thinking. He just says the hard facts without thinking. He's that guy who will be like, that makes you look fat, without thinking about it. He might hurt your feelings without even processing that would hurt your feelings, because he's not good at social things. He sucks at it. He does genuinely care, but he's really bad at talking and socializing. He's really, really bad at it. And he puts up that wall. And, you know, of course, everyone knows, we can all sense when someone's holding back from us. He keeps secrets for himself because he is afraid that people won't do things that need to be done, that he knows need to be done, if he lets them know that something bad is going to happen. And that's something, and he's nosy. He's nosy. He is a nosy old man. He's a nosy old man. So you'll see. He gets up in everybody's business. He likes to ask questions that you're like, do you really need to know that? And he's like, maybe. Tell me. What's up? And it's just like, I don't think you need to know about that, man. And, you know, he will. He'll ask questions, and he's very confident. So he'll just say, well, let's see what happens next. And all of these are abrasive traits. They are. And you know, when he feels he knows best, which I think a lot of people who get to a certain age feel that way. They've lived that long, for, you know, especially if you've lived for almost 1,000 years. You're like, yeah, I think I know what I'm doing. So he does have a tendency, a very strong tendency, to say, well, this is how it's going to be. And if someone else says, hold on, we could do it that way. Counterpoint, how about we do it this way? He'll be like, no. I said this way. And that just comes from him. And you know what, honestly, very frustratingly, like many people of his status, he's usually right. And that's not fun. And he will listen to others, but at the end he's that guy who's like, but I'm right. So I listened to you, now we're going to do it the way I said, move along. So these are all reasons that the characters in particular, or Jocelyn in particular, when she first meets and interacts with Tim, she does not like him. She's very vocal about it. She's like, this guy's always telling me what to do. It's his way or the highway. But I don't like this attitude. I don't like it. And fair enough. A lot of people don't. And, the other characters are a little more understanding, but frankly, none of them really liked him that much when they first meet him. They recognize that they need to listen to him because he is the sage character who's giving them all the information they need to do the quest, to do everything and save the world. But frankly, they wouldn't be around if they didn't have to be in the beginning. Towards the end of the book, they do grow to understand him and love him. And here, the reasons that we loved him are, well, of course, he's our plot driver. Woo! He gives us the things that the characters need to do to have a story to read. Really important stuff. Thank you, plot drivers of the books and the movies. Thank you, plot drivers in all circumstances. So, as readers, we really loved him, and as a writer. But the other is, again, even though he is socially awkward, the characters learn that the wall is up for him, mentally, and all of that is because he's been hurt so many times over 900 years of life. Or 972, but for the first 72 years, he probably didn't have it so bad. The 900 of losing everyone he loves and that was tough. So they realize why he's like that. And they also realize that yes, he does just blurt things out. He does just kind of drop the information on them, but he's doing it that way too because he hates giving people bad news. In To Save a World, there's actually a point where he even says he hates giving bad news, and the reason he just says it is because he hates doing it so much and he just wants to get it over with. Because he knows they're going to be mad at him no matter what or how he says it because it's terrible news. So he just says it. And then it's over. And then they're mad at him, but at least he didn't prolong that initial reaction. And usually, honestly, like by stunning people with upsetting news, a lot of the time that will stun them into silence for just a few seconds, long enough for you to get out of there if you need to. But that is something he actually, in the first book, To Save a World, there's a point where he does say, no, that's why I just blurt things out, because I hate giving people bad news. It makes me unhappy, it makes me upset, it makes me nervous. I don't like doing it, but I have to do it. I have been put in this position to do it because I have all of this knowledge, and I'm the one with the knowledge, so I have to communicate it. So I'm just going to get it over with. And so you learn that he really doesn't like hurting people. He really, really doesn't. He genuinely cares about the characters, which is why he has distanced himself for so many years. But, of course, the characters, Ethne and Darian and Aram and Jocelyn are super special. And they end up, coming into his life, and he's like, oh, okay, cool, well, and they're elves. So at least I have a few hundred years with these loved ones, and they're not going to die in 50 or something like that. And he genuinely cares about the world as a whole, obviously, because our plot driver wouldn't be around to tell us how to save the world if he didn't care about saving the world, if he didn't care about the people of Raashan and everyone else that's on it. Tim himself, having lived as long as he lived and everything, if he only cared about himself, he's not, the survival instinct isn't so much there anymore. It's been almost 1,000 years. He's tired. He may feel perfectly healthy and fine, but you get tired, exhausting emotionally and mentally to live that long. Again, I can't imagine why that would be a good thing. So yeah, he has so much love, and he is so excited, genuinely excited when good things happen. And he is pumped to give good news. And he just blurts that out too. But it's almost like a child giving good news. This old wizard will run in, and again, his body feels great. He looks old, but he's spry. So he might run full force into a room and be like, free cupcakes, or I don't know, whatever the good news is. I can't tell you what the good news is. But he will just blurt out the good news too, with the zeal of a child who has discovered free cupcakes, and it's just nice. And that's why we love him. And also he has like a really, really cool mansion. And in my head, one day when I'm like a best-selling author with lots of money, I'm building Tim's study as my personal library. I freaking love how I imagined. In my brain, it's really gorgeous, and it's really plush. Like lots of coziness and books everywhere and magical trinkets. It's amazing. Anyway, yeah. So, it's nice, but Tim loves the comfort. He's a comfortador. Which is a made-up word from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if I have any Buffy heads who listen. You probably know where that comes from. Yeah, so that's Tim in a nutshell. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, the workshop on the writing workshop that's coming is going to be on February 25th, and it'll be from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time, but it's on Zoom. And I'll also be recording it, so if you are in like Australia, where it's the middle of the night, when it's the afternoon where I am, then you can purchase the recording, or you can purchase the workshop, same price, $25, and then just email me and let me know, hey, I'm in Australia, or wherever you might be, where the time zone doesn't work out, and can you send me the recording instead? And I will be very, very happy to do that. I just need you to message me and let me know what you need. But I will also be sending that recording to all of the participants. So, yeah, if even if you attend live, which I hope a lot of you can, we already have a few people registered, so yay! But that will be something that I do for everyone, is I'll record it and then I'll send everyone the recording, so that just in case you want to go back and reference something and you're thinking, oh God, that was a good point, but I was listening and I wasn't taking a note and I don't remember, you can go back and watch a recording. It'll be free with the workshop for, reference it whenever you want. And that's something that I just am going to do. And if this workshop is a success, which looks like it probably will be, I've already got 5 people signed up, then hoping for more, then I'll make it a quarterly thing. So it'll be a 4 times a year, the 4 quarters in the year, 4 times a year workshop. So that's it. Thank you so much and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night.